Hello and welcome to ACS Golf, and today's video, which has been released 12 AM UK time on a Friday, which can only mean one thing: it's a brand new club for 2025, and I'm really excited about trying this for you guys because potentially it could be the bargain of the year. And the club I'm talking about is this. It is a brand new Ben Hogan PTx Max driver, which is their 10K version. So if you don't know much about Ben Hogan, basically their direct consumer brand. Over the years, they produced some of the best feeling, even best performing, let's be honest, like players irons, and they still make some cracking players irons as well nowadays. Also some good forgiving ones, and even some hollow construction irons as well, which they've just released. But a couple of years ago, they were about to go bust, and then they got saved by the same company. I believe it's out in Las Vegas, that owns Zebra, owns McGregor, so saved all these sort of direct-to-consumer brands, and have pumped money into all of them because they know it's a big market now. So you've got a lot of R&D happening behind the scenes at Ben Hogan at the moment, which is the reason for this release. So they've released a whole new set of woods. You've got a PTx Max here, you've got a low spin model driver as well, which you can buy with the weights at the front. You've got a brand new fairway wood, which I've actually got and I will be trying over the next couple of weeks. So do remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you do not miss out on that review. And they got a new hybrid as well. So very exciting times for any Ben Hogan fans out there, because let's be honest, they've always produced some really good stuff, but maybe not when it comes down to their woods. I don't think their last sort of woods, I think their hybrids have always been quite good, but their last sort of wood, especially the drivers, I think it's a GS55 or something like that, didn't perform that well. They weren't really brand new. They didn't really put a lot of technology or a lot of idea into it, but that's completely different with this. And a lot of you guys watching it as well, this video, will notice similarities between Adams and this club. So Adams from 2013, 2014, which produced some of the best woods at that sort of era. And I'll explain why in a second. But first things first, as always, what we're going to do, we're going to have a closer look at this club. Then we're going to come back in here, go through all the technologies in it, get down to the range where I'm going to throw some figures at you guys, and then come back here for the ACS Golf Scale and my overall thoughts about the potentially, as I've already mentioned, the best value driver out there that you can buy brand new. All right, without further ado, let's have a closer look at this club. So there you go, and it is a good looking thing. It really is. It looks really, really smart, which I'm really pleased by, because a lot of these sort of direct to consumer brands, sometimes they look a little bit cheap, when this definitely looks premium. It really does. Just a really smart looking driver, and a very nice head cover as well. Maybe could be a little bit more fluffy inside, but overall it is still good quality. And look at that. Really like the colors on it. One thing that I like about this as well, this is a 10K driver, so 10K MOI, like your Pings, etc., like your TaylorMades, Maxes, all those sort of, high forgiveness drivers. But one thing they haven't done with this, they haven't made it massively bulbous at the back. All these other drivers, they're really long because they're trying to put as much weight as possible at the back of the driver to aid that MOI. This is actually quite compact with quite a large head. A large face, sorry, which I really like. I like the more compact look. So I like that a driver brand has come out, and gone, all right, let's make a more traditional looking driver, but still make it as forgiving as possible. And that's exactly what Ben Hogan have done with this. And I really, really like the look of this driver. Now, without further ado, let's get into the technology that is in this club. So max stability, max forgiveness. So the PTx Max driver is designed for golfers who need maximum stability and forgiveness at impact, with an extremely high MOI exceeding 10K. So it's not even a 10K driver, it's exceeding 10K. Haven't told us exactly how it's exceeding 10K, so it could be 10,001, but it's exceeding 10K. So under the hood, our design team went all out to make this one of the most forgiving drivers pound for pound anywhere on the market. The 4-piece construction includes a hot face. There you go. Also forged, by the way. With variable thickness to increase forgiveness on off-center strikes. So a lot of these faces now, you know, it's not just here, you know, we have the sweet spot. You know, they're creating sweet spots across the whole face to aid forgiveness. Strategically placed carbon fiber crown, as you can see there, the classic look. Don't know if you can actually see there, but when you saw a close-up of the video, you could see, you know, you can see that carbon through the top, which I really like, really classic. You know, place carbon fiber crown and high density sole with the weight set further back, push that calculated MOI over the 10K threshold. And then you have this, nod back to Adams here. So the speed slot, there you go. See that right there? It's carbon fiber as well. The precisely engineered carbon fiber speed slot on the side of the driver isn't just for looks. It enhances aerodynamics, reducing drag and increasing club head speed for added distance, as well as further allowing us to optimize the center of gravity and dial up that forgiveness. So enjoy it for how it looks and for what it does to the ball. Amazing. You know, they've thought about everything, not just the looks, but also the functionality. You know, there's a lot of R&D that has gone into this, which is really, really cool. And then finally, PTx Your Way. Our adjustment sleeve allows for 2 degrees of loft and lie change. You can go 2 degrees up, 2 degrees down, and also make it more upright if necessary. So you can dial in the shape and flight you want. Pair that with our custom build options for the driver that is optimized just for you. So that's one potential issue with it. You can get all the optimized bits, so you can adjust it, you know, aftermarket shafts, etc. However, you know, I don't know if you can get fitted for it. Definitely not in the UK. There's not a Ben Hogan fitting center over here. Maybe in the US there might be, but I don't know. If there is, let me know in the comments down below. So yeah, so premium components in this, a lot of technology in this. You know, you could say that's a bit like, you know, your tailor-made moment of, well, not moment of inertias, but, you know, your tailor-made there as well, technology. You know, it is a really good looking driver. Now, just going into this speed lot, which as I mentioned is from Adams, is because the guy who actually helped design this was one of the main designers and R&D guys for Adams in the early 2010. So Ben Hogan have gone, all right, let's reproduce some really great clubs and obviously make them better. So let's get in the guy from Adams who knew what he was doing, producing some great stuff, give him all the sort of brand new tech that's out there at the moment and let him produce an absolute beast. And that's exactly what they've done. So a guy from Adams has come in, you know, and he's worked with them to produce this great club. So yes, it might look like an Adams club, but believe me, it has definitely jumped up a level from them, from the 2014 sort of bit before I got sold to TaylorMade. So there you go. Really, really pleased with it. It looks fantastic and some great tech in there as well. Quick shout out on the shaft. So the basic shaft options, you can get these. So you can get Tensai, but it's a CK series. I've got this in 70 grams flex stiff. Probably should have got extra stiff, but never mind. You can get 60. It's a bit annoying because the CK series for me, I don't know if they're still doing it. I feel like they're on the way out. So it'd be nicer to see maybe a standard, the AV series. You know, I'm not expecting him to do maybe the 1K series from Tensai, but definitely maybe the AV series would have been nice. You can get hazardous black as well for this as standard. And then you do have like upcharges ones where you can get Denelli as well, blue, for like £40 extra or $40. So there are a lot of shaft options out there. But just be aware, maybe they could improve that a little bit more personally. However, the price you're paying for it, you can sort of understand why, which we'll get into in a second when we go through the ACS Golf scale. So without further ado, let's get down to range and throw some figures at you. I'm down at the range with a Ben Hogan driver. Now, one thing I will say straight away with this, it is a very consistent driver. You know, put some really quite bad hits on it and it still went relatively straight. Don't get me wrong with this shaft. For some reason, I'm pushing it right. But that is just the shaft. That's not the driver. You know, it was so consistent, which I thought was really, really good. Jumping into the figures, on average, I had a carry of 239 yards, total distance of 279 yards, ball speed 159 miles per hour, launch angle 10 and height 57 feet. Really happy with that. You know, not exactly the best carry, but I was playing this as 9 degrees. Normally, I play quite a lofted club, around that 12 degree mark. So definitely could loft it up to 11. I definitely would see that sort of carry improve there, and that's why the launch was quite low. But when I did manage to get it right and get that launch to 13 degrees, height 76 feet, got a whopping 265 yards carry, 299 yards total distance, 162 miles per hour ball speed. Fastest ball speed on the day with this club was actually 164 miles per hour, and that one actually got carried 252 yards, total distance of 286 yards. So yeah, very, very pleased with those numbers. Don't get me wrong, I was swinging very fast on the day. However, you know, the club still needed to perform, and it did exactly that. Feel and noise felt really nice. Noise-wise, a little bit on the loud side, but still really happy with it. Here's the numbers in a table for you. So there you go, the average and longest. Shortest was 213 carry and 268 distance. Just came a little bit low on the face there. So ball speed did drop down a little bit. However, it was a really bad hit. So to get that and it's still going that same sort of shape out to the right, you know, that was very, very impressive. Overall, really pleased. So there you go. And what can I say? Some great numbers from this driver. However, don't get me wrong, on the day I was swinging my socks off. You know, I was actually testing some PXG Gen 6 P irons, review coming out this Sunday actually, so a couple of days after this. And I was getting that 6 iron to like 190, you know, total distance. I was also getting my ZX5 Mark IIs to around the same distance as well. Normally about 170 with a 6 iron, maybe a little bit more at the moment because I'm swinging a lot faster than I used to. So yeah, but still, it still has to perform. It still has to get to those numbers, you know. And I was really impressed by it. You know, average carry only 239 yards. Did have this set at 9 degrees. Normally, you know, I actually have my QI35 set at 12. Gives me a little bit more height. I probably should have lofted this up as well, but I decided to keep it down for that 9. So that definitely could improve easily by me just lofting the loft up. But total distance 279 yards, really happy with that. Ball speed 159 miles per hour, really happy with that. Launch angle 10, as I mentioned, you know, if I lofted that up, I'd definitely get a little bit more. And, you know, height 57, again, if I lofted it up, it definitely would have got a little bit more, you know, height there as well. But overall, really pleased, you know, to get that one, you know, the longest 265 yards, total distance 299 yards. Really impressed with that 162 miles per hour. When I got the launch angle to 13 degrees, you know, height 76. Oh, that was a monster. Really impressive from a 10k driver. Shortest on the day was 268 yards total distance. Only carried 213. Came off, you know, quite low on the face. It was low out, only 8 degrees launch, only 37 degrees sort of height, you know, feet. So not amazing, but still went 268 yards on the golf course. I will take that any day of the week. So let's get into distance. So let's get into the ACS Golf scale. So then we've got distance, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. So distance-wise, yes, all right, I nearly hit the 300 mark with this. But, you know, as I mentioned, I was swinging really hard. And also, you could maybe say there's a little bit of wind-aided help as well. But I still think the distance on this is very impressive. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Now you might say, well, hold on, that's 4 out of 5. That's not 5 out of 5. Well, for me, a 5 out of 5 is your low spin monsters. You know, your triple diamonds from Callaway, your DS Adapts LS. You know, the low spin monsters that are just huge. You know, this isn't that. This is the 10k driver. This is the ultimate forgiveness one. And it's still getting that 4 out of 5, which, by the way, it's the same category, so the same rating as I'd give my QI35 core, which I give you sort of all the sort of core models out there. Generally, I want them in that 4 out of 5 category, and this is exactly where this sits. You know, I even hit my QI35 on the same day, you know, and I wasn't getting any more distance out of that than I was with this. If anything, I was getting a little bit shorter, but it was near the end of the session, so I was slightly fatigued. But, you know, on the drain, you know, on the range by myself, you know, when I'm not testing clubs, still that QI35 wouldn't have got any further than that. Would have been very much with it, but not necessarily would have got any further. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for a high MOI, you know, 10k driver. Really, really impressed with it. So yeah, 4 out of 5. Definitely has enough length in it to match the big boys. If anything else, maybe has even a little bit more. Serious driver, this really is. Feel, it's got a forged face. I've given it a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe it's a little bit harsh. I'm giving it a 4. I'm changing my mind. I'm giving it a 4. You know me doing these reviews, I tend to change my mind halfway through it because I think about it a little bit more as well. It's a nice feel. You've got a forged face. I can generally feel where my miss hits are. The only thing that maybe why I gave it originally a 3.5 and not a 4 is because it does sound quite tinny. So even though it is carbon fibre, it is quite a loud driver. Nothing too offensive, not like the Wilson Staff I reviewed the other day, but it is a little bit on the loud side. So do be aware of that. You know, definitely a few decimals above the QI35, which is, you know, all carbon face, etc. Not offensive, but it is that little bit louder. So I think that's why I put it down to that 3.5, but I'm going to put it back up to that 4. So I took it on the golf course and it wasn't that bad on the golf course. But yeah, you know, feels relatively nice across the face, or feels lovely across the face. Not the nicest driver I've ever felt, but you know, a 4 out of 5 is still really, really nice. So yeah, it doesn't feel not premium, basically. And that's the main thing I wanted to know about this. Was I going to be hitting this and thinking, oh, what is that? Am I hitting a driver? Is it lead weight, whatever? No, not at all. Really nice feel. 4 out of 5, felt powerful, you know, really good. And I could tell where my miss hits were as well, which I think is really important. Looks wise, I've given it a 4 out of 5. I do love the look. You know, I love that sort of more squat face. I do. However, I'd quite like my bottom to be a bit more symmetrical. It's just me. That's the way I am. Obviously, you know, you've got that speed slot, so everything looks a little bit uneven on the bottom, but that's just the way the tech is, you know. But overall, it is a great looking club. So yeah, 4 out of 5. Forgiveness for me, just change something there because I've realised that was way too low for forgiveness. Forgiveness of 4.5 out of 5. Really consistent. Definitely consistent ball flight. With the shaft, I don't think it's quite right for me. I was definitely pushing it right quite a lot, but generally all in the same sort of area. Was really happy with it. And I was happy with the numbers. I know that 299 was the longest, but a lot of them around the late 270s, around that 280s mark, you know, very consistent. And then that, you know, the shortest was 268. I hit 268 a few times actually, the shortest, but they were really bad hits. And the main thing about it, even though they're really bad hits, and yes, there was a little bit of a drop off, they went straight. So I wasn't losing them left or right or anything like that. It was very much, if I did lose one left, it was down to me just putting a really, really bad swing over. If I sliced it right, again, me putting a really, really bad swing on it. And it doesn't matter what driver I use in the world, if I put that type of swing on it, it's going to happen exactly the same. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5 for forgiveness for me. The only reason I haven't given it a 5 out of 5 is I hit a few I mean, I nearly missed on the face here, so I did hit a few right at the top here. Like I said, really did nearly miss the face, and maybe, you know, your ping 10Ks would have maybe given it maybe 1 or 2 more miles per hour sort of safety net. Maybe there's a little bit more of a drop off than sort of other 10K brands, but still really impressive. 4.5 out of 5. You know, this has enough forgiveness. It's perfect. You know, gets it down, keeps it straight, but maybe a little bit more drop off if you make really, 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 really bad hits. So do be aware of that. That's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. But for your average golfer, this is going to keep you on the fairway. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Now on to price. So I brought this. I've got the fairway wood here. Just getting the Happy Gilmore stick out of the way. Had to pick one of them up. The moment that came out, I was all over it like a rash. But yeah, Happy Gilmore. So Ben Hogan, you know, got the fairway wood here. Got this driver over here in the UK, and I picked both of them up for £449.98. So a brand new driver, brand new shaft, mid-sized Ben Hogan grip, by the way, which is a lambkin, which I really like. Great, you know, with their own logo on it. Exactly the same sort of specs in that one for less than my QI35 driver. So my QI35 driver costs £529. Actually, technically it costs more because I've got an aftermarket Ventus Red Velcro shaft in it. But then, yes, if I put an aftermarket shaft on this would have been more as well. But if you're looking at just the stock, you know, you could save yourself, what's that, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds pretty much by buying one of these and a fairy wood over getting a QI35. Ridiculous price. So in the US, this is retailing at the moment at $379.99. And in the UK, it's retailing at $279.99. However, for the UK, well, I'll mention that in a second actually. So yeah, price 4.5 out of 5. If anything, really, I'm changing my mind. I'm giving it 5 out of 5. The performance you can get and the fact that I can pick up a fairway wood as well for the same price as a brand new TaylorMade driver, it is insane. It is insane. Now, even though maybe you could say, well, the shaft, you get, you know, Ventus in that one. It's not Valcourt Ventus, but you know, the standard stock shaft, there's a Ventus blue shaft. You know, the CK series is a little bit old. It's still a Tensai shaft. You know, you still get a Hastus in there as standard as well. You can get some good premium shafts in there. And then if I wanted to put, you know, the Denelli shaft in the driver, the blue, which is a good shaft, I'm still cheaper than buying the QI35 for the stock shaft. There you go. There you go. Even though the Denelli blue is stock in Cobras and stuff like that. So maybe you could say they need to upgrade their stock shaft, but still I think it's an absolute bargain, and that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, which is the most rarest thing I've ever done for a brand new club. I never give it 5 out of 5, but I just think it's such good value. It's, you know, it's 10K. It's got the distance. It's got the forgiveness. Yes, I don't think it's going to be forgiving. It's a brand new Ping 10K driver max, but it's still perfect. It's really good. And unlike a lot of these 10K drivers, it gives you the distance. You know, we go for the QI10 Max last year, you know, their 10K driver span a lot, didn't give a lot of distance. This thing really still does give some really good distance. So really, really pleased with it. So yeah, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 for price, which is rare. Really, really rare. Now on to the issue with this. So the issue with this is in the US it's $3,799. Maybe with it being $2,799 over here, maybe it could be a little bit cheaper. But the issue is you can't buy it in the UK anymore. I don't know what's happened, but I looked on Ben Hogan's website, well, literally today, and it's not on there anymore. There's no mention of the PTx range. It might be because they've already sold out of it, or maybe they're upgrading it, or they're putting it back in, or maybe this was an introductory offer and it might be going up in price, and therefore maybe that 5 out of 5 is not a 5 out of 5 anymore. Maybe it's now a 4 or a 3. So be wary of that. But at the moment, if you can pick this up for $2,799 in the UK, if it comes back on the market, great. In the US, if you pick it up for $3,799, again, a fantastic deal. I mean, QI35, what's like $600 in the US? So I'm not quite sure you can pick up the, you know, the fairway wood as well, but still you're going to be pretty close. I still think it's 5 out of 5. You can save yourself a lot of money by going down this route over the sort of TaylorMade. So there you go. So there's one issue. In the UK at the moment, you can't get it. Hopefully when this video comes out this Friday, that would be rectified, and hopefully it will be the same price as the price I'm mentioning on this video. And also another issue with it is maybe stock shafts could be a little bit more upgraded. And finally, you can't get fitted for it. Well, I'm not aware that you can get fitted for it, which you could say not the end of the world with the price you're paying. But if you're a beginning golfer or an aspiring golfer, it's always good to get yourself fitted for these things. So maybe a little bit annoying there, but not the end of the world. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of the Ben Hogan PTx Max driver. Really, really nice driver. Generally considering keeping this actually and using it in the winter, just because my QI35 is an extra stiff shaft. I am not going to be swinging fast enough for an extra stiff in the winter, you know, and this is just such a lovely driver. However, I will say at the moment with that shaft, everything does come out right, and it was the same thing on the golf course, unfortunately, but that's something I could definitely fix, I feel like, with this club. You know, get used to it, loft it up so the face is a little bit more closed. We'll put it in more upright position, so close that face a little bit, so get that banana coming around a little bit more nicely. But yeah, overall, really, really pleased with this. Very impressive and definitely worth a go if you've not tried it. All right, guys, now I hope you enjoyed this lengthy review of the Ben Hogan PTx Max driver. As always, I always say, I'm going to keep on saying those words. I always say, if it's a long video, you know I like the club, and that's definitely the case with this. One thing I will mention though that I nearly forgot, I did take it on the golf course, and I did hear a little bit of rattling in it after, you know, hitting it down the range and on the golf course. All it was is I had to tighten the screw. So not the end of the world, but it was a bit like, oh, really? I've only just brought it and I'm having to do this. Why is this not done in the factory? So maybe a little bit of quality control check there, but I mean, that's the smallest of details in the world. So there you go. All right, guys, as I mentioned, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Do comment down below, you know, have you tried this PTx range? Are you interested to try it? You know, if you are, do let me know down in the comments. And always do subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed yet. You know, we're building, we're growing quickly as well. And I really appreciate you guys subscribing. You know, the more you subscribe, the more videos I'll be able to release. All right, guys. So yeah, so subscribe and hit that bell icon. There you go. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you soon for the next ACS Golf review. See you then. Bye-bye.